best way to think about anything that you post online is imagine that you are parking your car in a car park, and the people who own the car park have the right to drive your car themselves, to modify your car, to smash it up if they feel like it, paint it a different colour, change the registration plates, and you have no comeback whatsoever.
Hello and welcome back to the Mothership, the show that brings the issues that matter most to Irish families to the table. I'm Laura Cunningham, and on this week's show we're discussing how to keep our children safe online. Are we sharing them too much? And if so, what measures do we need to put in place to keep them safe? And how do we navigate it when they start to venture online themselves? Joining us this week is content creator and mother of twins, Julie Hines. Thanks so much for joining us, all the way from Cork. Renee, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Renee is an activist and Instagrammer and of course mother of two gorgeous daughters.
Thank you.
And Shane Dunphy, the man who's going to terrify us all. He's an author and also a child online safety expert.
That'll do.
That's your title, that'll do it.
That'll do.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, I mean, look, we're sat around a table as a group of people who most of us share quite a bit of our children online, let's face it. And I mean, what is Instagram for if it's not for cute kitten pictures and our kids and all of this? You know, it feels like quite a natural thing to do for me anyway, I know. But of course there are concerns that we have. So Julie, I'm going to come to you first. Your Instagram handle is Twins and Me.
Yeah.
So it's all about you and your kids. I mean, that's why I watch you.
Yeah.
I want to watch you interact with it, so it's all a part of it. Like,
Yeah.
how do you feel about it? Do you ever have any hesitation about it? Do you think it's all good for you? Are there things that worry you?
No. Like, every day is different. Some days it's all fun and games with them, and then other days I'm like, oh, I don't know, should I put them up today?
Yeah.
But what I do, I feel, is I talk about them a lot. I talk about motherhood. I talk about the struggles. I talk about the best parts and the good, the bad, and the ugly, I suppose,
Yeah.
as you know, as a mother, because it's such a big part. It is my life.
Yeah.
Motherhood is my life. You know, I know, like, that is my life now. So I do enjoy talking about them, and I do enjoy sharing. I would share them to the world if I could, because I love them so much, and they're so funny. But yeah, I do share with them, all right, and I don't mind it.
Yeah. I
No.
mean, I'd like guilty as charged. I do exactly the same.
Yeah.
I feel like, what else would I have to talk about if I didn't share, you know? So
I'm at home all day with my kids,
Yeah.
you know, I have great days, I have bad days, I have days I want to run away, and I have no problem sharing that, because I'm hoping then that I would help another mother be like, oh my God, I'm not the only one that wants to run away from my kids, or I can't handle my kids today. But then again, the next day we could have the best day ever, you know.
Yeah.
It's just the struggles of parenthood.
it's so lovely to watch you with them, like, and just you completely keep it real, like, and
That's what I want. I want
Yeah.
to keep, I don't paint a perfect life, because who has a perfect life?
not I.
So there's some days I would have a great day, and there's other days, as I said, Laura, I just want to run away from them. Do you
Yeah.
know? Because they're just driving me insane, especially at bedtime, you know? So yeah, I just share the good, the bad, and the ugly, and I'm hoping then in that, like, help other mothers out as well, you know?
And I think anyone who's a bit narky about people sharing their kids online is entitled to be if they're not watching the people who are sharing their kids online, but they all are, let's face it. So
100%, yeah.
Renee, I see your gorgeous girls online, and of course, like, part of your whole story is your kids and how they came into the world. If you want to tell us a tiny bit about that so we know the context, and then tell us how you feel about sharing them and your story online.
Okay, yeah, so I suppose my wife and I have two daughters, a 5 and a 3-year-old, and I kind of first started, you know, doing the Instagram thing, I suppose, when we were going through that initial journey to have them, to conceive them, and also because I couldn't see anybody like me online. I could see people from, you know, in other countries perhaps, but I didn't see any, let's say, content creators from the LGBTQ plus community with kids in Ireland. I just didn't see anyone sharing that. So for me, I suppose sharing or oversharing sometimes has been a way of me, you know, just giving that representation back, because, you know, if you don't see yourself reflected in what you're watching, it kind of invalidates you, and, you know, you feel kind of invisible. So for me, a large part of the sharing has been educating people, just, you know, colouring up people's news feeds, my activism work. It's kind of been a mixed bag, and kind of similar to you, I think. I very much believe in sharing the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. A lot of my content is, you know, happy and positive and fun, but I also share when I'm having really terrible days.
You're really brave at it all. Yeah.
And I think that's really important. I try to be myself online. I don't think anyone is ever, completely themselves online. You know, we do like to present ourselves in a certain way, but I do feel that if someone who follows me met me in real life, they'd be like, oh yeah, you're the exact same in real life as you are online. Yeah. I suppose for us with sharing the kids and how we feel about it, I do think my feelings about it have changed slightly in the last couple of years. Okay. Whereas I would have probably shared more before, and as the following has grown, as people may be recognizing our kids when we're out and about, that has grown. I've become a little bit more cautious. Now there's some there's some things that are just like, that's just a red line. That's not going to happen. Like obviously we don't share them if they're like in a bathing suit, in a swim, in the tub, not wearing a top. We don't post pictures of where they go to school. We don't talk about school. We don't talk about where we live. There are certain things we don't do. But then sometimes when I am sharing, I stop and I say, do I need to share this? Yeah. Do I need to, or can I just keep that for myself?
Sometimes it is a bit of a reflex, isn't it? You're like, oh, they're doing a cute thing. Everyone needs to see this.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I would say that what I post these days is a fraction of what's on my camera roll.
Okay.
I love sharing them, and I love hearing.
Can you just send all that other stuff
I
directly to me?
know,
'Cause they're so cute.
and they are so cute, and it's just, they fill me with so much joy that I want to share that, and I do love hearing from people who say, I had a really shitty day, and that reel of Aria dancing cheered me up.
And like you say, I think it's really important for people to see that your family is just a normal family, like every other family, and you have your ups and downs, and your kids are so happy. Do you ever worry about, because obviously there are people in the world who it might take them a little while to come around to the fact that families are all different. Do you ever worry about exposing the kids to those kind of quite like backwards people, for want of a better word?
Yeah, it terrifies me. I suppose at the moment they're so young, 5 and 3, that they wouldn't be exposed to that. But obviously there would be, comments out there and trolls out there and stuff written about our family out there, that it kind of scares me to think that they would ever read that. I suppose all we can do about that is teach them about the internet, teach them about how people say things online that are not true, and hopefully prepare them as they get older and as they come into the season of their life when they do have phones and they do kind of start Googling their parents, or because there will be a lot of results if they were to Google my name, and not all of them good. All we can do is prepare them for that, I think.
That's it. I mean, we all know people are the worst online, but it's kind of letting them know that it's not all just fun reels, that maybe later on down the line they will have to deal with this white noise around it, people's opinions and all that. Julie, you have a massive following. What have you got, like 87,000 followers or something?
Yeah, 87,000 now.
Do you worry about people knowing too much in terms of like maybe where you're from, where you live, anything like that?
Yeah, like Renee said, like I would keep where they go to school offline, or like if this September now they're going to school, like I won't show them, I won't have pictures of them with their uniforms, or I'd never really I try not to post outside my house, like little things now like that, but it's very, very hard to hide completely, because if they want to know, they will find out, they'd go
Ireland's
to the ends
small
of
place.
It
Cork's
is.
even smaller,
Exactly, and I live in a little village, so people do talk.
And they care as well.
And they care.
They're just nosy, they want to
exactly, they want to know everything. So I would like that now. I would just hide their schools and like stuff like that.
Okay, Shane, I'm going to come to you, and I think you're probably going to terrify all of us. So, short of literally absolutely banishing our kids, never mentioning them, pretending we don't have children online, that's obviously solution number one. But if we are going to share, and we are, how do we do it safely? What are the main things that we need to keep in mind?
I think the first thing that everybody needs to be aware of is what your legal rights are when it comes to the stuff that you put up. Okay. The best way to think about anything that you post online is, imagine that you are parking your car in a car park, and the people who own the car park have the right to drive your car themselves, to modify your car, to smash it up if they feel like it, paint it a different colour, change the registration plates, and you have no comeback whatsoever. Anything that you post on any of those websites belongs to the people who own the websites, okay? As a result of which they reserve the right, it rarely happens, but they reserve the right, for example, to use an image that you posted to advertise something for themselves,
wow.
okay?
And of course we all click, everything's fine when we join these things, we don't even read it.
Exactly, yeah, and people don't pay much attention to that. The other thing, of course, is that anybody can scroll through and can screenshot or can download an image or a video or whatever. You're all aware that there's apps out there that can do that. A few years ago, I was doing a documentary on online child safety, and one of those paedophile hunter groups actually sat me down and showed me a Facebook page that contained image after image after image of kids from all across the world that had been posted on this particular page. And it was one of those pages that had a security setting on it so that people had to be allowed to view it. But these were just ordinary people's kids that were, and they weren't all in compromising positions or in swimsuits or in states of undress. But this was being used for lascivious purposes, okay? Once you put it out there, you don't know what's going to happen. And I always just say, educate yourself first. The second thing that I'll say is, where possible, I think that our kids should have some degree of consent to what it is that we're putting up. So if they're old enough to understand, maybe say to them, look, I'm going to be putting this up on my page. How do you feel about this? Ask yourself, is it something that we might think is cute, but that in 5 or 6 years' time, they may be horrified if you decide to play it on the 21st birthday or embarrassed, okay? So how are they going to feel about it? Because once it's up there, it's up there.
Yeah.
And okay, you can take it down, but before you take it down, somebody might have screenshot it or downloaded it or used it for those purposes. I think that it's a brave new world, it's a new frontier, social media. We have children now that are growing up online effectively for the first time. Also, there can be a perception out there that Instagram pages, are they really reflecting reality, or are they a performance in some way? I think we always have to ask ourselves, we're creating a narrative when we put this up. You're telling a story.
Yeah.
When I go on your page, Julie, you can very much see a story of your life. Do you know what I mean? People viewing that are going to wonder, okay, are you creating a personality for your children? People that are watching that, are they going to see, and I mean the same for you, Renee, are they going to see are you portraying one child like this and one child like that? And so people are forming opinions on your children.
That's really interesting. You're creating an online persona
for
them.
Persona.
You're really branding your kids.
Yeah. Yes. And what's that going to be like for them once they head off to school, primary school or secondary school? Are people going to are teachers, because teachers are human beings too, are they going to have a perception about what your child is like?
Yes.
And are you doing a favour to your kid, or are you actually making it tougher on them when you do that?
That's a really interesting point, actually. I'd never thought of it.
So again, these are all the things that we need to take into consideration. Also, just in terms of safety, you talked about the fact that you don't let people know where you live. You're not going to let people know where your children are going to school. As you said, people will find this out. And I mean, there have already been cases all over the world of YouTubers and Instagrammers who get effectively stalkers and people who will follow them around. And I think if your children become part of, I hate to use the word product, but what you are selling, if you like, online, what you are trying to put out there, are your children then going to have these kind of followers and stalkers as well? And Ireland is a small world. So again, making sure that your children are aware of their own safety when they're out and about. As a child protection worker, I know that, we can't be with them 24 hours a day. The teacher can't be with them 24 hours a day. So you need to make sure that they are aware, that to some extent, if you like, that they are a celebrity.
And as a parent with 2 young kids, you nearly forget they're actually going to grow up. You nearly in your mind, you're like, they're going to be small forever, but they are actually going to grow up and, go out to the big bad world on their own. I'm not going to be always there shadowing them, But we never think of that.
When I was a kid, a friend of mine, his cousin was in a movie called Dragon Slayer. It was a crap film. It died a death, disappeared. Not a very. It was a kind of a hokey sword and sorcery thing. But she was a child actor, and she went into the movie. She had a small part. I think it was Disney. I'm not sure. But anyway, she became hugely hugely famous in Ireland and around the southeast at the time for a very brief period of time. And the bullying that she got was only brutal, as you can imagine.
Kids are jealous that she's in
kids
this
are jealous.
Disney film.
And not only that, her cousin, who was in my class, got a bit of slagging and bullying because his cousin was in the film.
Yeah.
Oh
It
my
was kind of
God.
this kind of splashback thing. Now, I remember thinking years later, when I actually read about, reading about the film in a sci-fi magazine, thinking, okay, as an actress, she went into that knowing that she was going to be famous and that she was putting herself out there. I think kids that are being put up online by their parents don't necessarily know that they are now being put out into the public domain.
It's true, it's true.
They're not aware of that, and they're blissfully unaware probably that there are thousands and thousands of people out there who now know
Well, they
their
just
name
think
and know who
all
they are.
kids have
Or
that
they
much.
may, exactly, maybe
Yeah.
everybody has this, maybe everybody's mum or dad is doing
Yeah,
this.
they just think it's totally normal.
Yeah.
You know what, can I just say one thing though, which is just unavoidable really, is that if you, for example, never showed your kids, people would want to know who they were and they'd find pictures of them.
They
Like
would.
it's that insidious sometimes.
And
you know
because
what I
I'm
mean?
with them so much anyway, if I'm walking around Cork City, they're with me.
Yeah.
If I'm in a shopping centre, they're with me. If I bring them to a play centre, there's other women going to be there that follow me, will see them, so they're going to know who they are anyway, you know. So
It's kind of nearly just the whole area that we've decided to put ourselves into, that they're dragged in whether they like it or not, kind of thing. So
Can I ask you, how do your kids feel about
Mine's
being
one.
online?
So I think I have the oldest, so Ava will be 6 this year,
Okay.
and she's definitely started to articulate more when she doesn't want to be on camera.
Okay.
And I 100% respect that. If she says, I don't want a picture, I don't want a video,
Yeah.
it's gone.
yeah.
Like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Sometimes she'll ask me, she'll be like, can we make a reel? And we'll make like a silly reel together or
Yeah.
something. But, you know, we're definitely having those conversations more now. And I'm kind of asking her permission. You know, if I take a picture, I'm like, do you like this? You know, or she'll watch a video back and I'll be like, do you like this?
yeah.
If she ever expresses any sort of, you know, like embarrassment, because she does, she gets embarrassed now by things, or she doesn't like her outfit, or she doesn't like her hair, for whatever reason, she just doesn't like it.
Yeah.
She'll kind of tell me. But yeah, it's definitely, the territory is changing now.
As they get more autonomy as they're older.
Yeah.
You know, I think my plan is generally, like, my son is 1.5, and like I say, when you have a 1.5-year-old, you don't really do that much else. So he is a lot of my content, of course he is, and he's also adorable. So you know, but I think it was Louise McSharry. I heard she does this, and so does Katie Healy, that other influencer. When their children get to a certain age. An age at which they might be away from them, whether it's at school or out and about or at play dates, and also at an age where they could understand if a stranger says to them, I'm your mom's friend, or anything like that. When they get to that danger point, they cut off and they don't put their kids online anymore. That's my vague plan, to be honest with you. I think it'll be kind of difficult. Is that a really silly thing to say? But I think it will feel like I want to share them, but I think you have to get to a point where if it makes you feel uncomfortable at all, then it's not okay. You
I've
know?
definitely thought about doing that.
Yeah.
And I've always said, if anything happens to make me uncomfortable, to make our children uuncomfortable, to make my wife uncomfortable, it's gone.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that
Because
will be cut
effectively
off.
what you're doing is kind of like it might sound silly, but it's a bit of a public service. You're like an activist, and you're like, your content is, and you know, visualizing what an LGBT family is like, and you know, talking about all of the things that you talk about. But if it's at a cost to you, at some point,
so
it's
at
not
the
worth
moment,
it.
it's not at a cost to my family.
Yeah,
you know,
you
sometimes
enjoy it.
it's at a cost to me. Be that, you know, people sending me horrible messages or whatever. But at the moment, it's not at a cost to my family. If it ever was, it would just be cut off immediately, because I don't think anything is worth that to be, you know, have your kids talked about or put in danger. More importantly,
Nothing, absolutely. So moving on from this, eventually our kids are obviously going to venture online themselves. Don't know about you, but I'm absolutely terrified about it. You know, it'll probably start early on. We often talk about it on Her Family. You know, we'll ask our readers what age should their kids have a mobile phone, and 12 seems to be the magic number, or when they go to secondary school. I don't know, how do you guys feel about it? What age do you think you'll give the kids a mobile phone?
Well, mine don't have mobile phones just because they're 4, but they would have iPads.
Yeah.
And they'd watch a bit of Netflix or YouTube, which I love because it gives me that 5 minutes out in the kitchen on my own to have a cup of
Oh,
coffee.
here, screen time for life.
Screen time. Yeah, exactly. Me too. I love screen time as my babysitter. You know, love it. Or a car journey, 2 iPads at the back of the car, and they're happy out for an hour.
Yeah.
So you know, love it.
But they're not on social media.
They're not.
And
No,
stuff like that,
no.
of course
So
not,
I suppose, like as you said, but 12, 11, 12, yeah, even confirmation age. I think is
Yeah.
when they ask for a phone or, you know, to go on social media. So yeah, maybe that age as well.
What about you? Like, as in, you know, if you want them to be able to WhatsApp you if they're at school or anything, like what kind of age are you thinking?
And they're 30.
35?
Yeah, 35. Never. It terrifies me
Yeah.
to think that they would be on any like social media without me
Where someone
monitoring
could
it.
contact
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
I think giving them a phone so we can contact them is really useful. So I think yes, absolutely secondary school age, maybe when they're getting the bus by themselves or, you know, kind of doing some sort of travel by themselves. Yeah. But even at that, like I think of myself at age 12, and I know kids are different these days, but like if someone had given me access to what I have access to now at the age of 12,
I would have looked at everything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there are options. Obviously, you can get phones that only allow you to call. You can get that nano watch where it's just you can only contact your
Yeah,
parent,
my
whether that
grandson
be.
has one of those.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So your kids are a little older. So what age did they get phones at?
12, both
Okay.
were 12 when they got them. It was that magic number. Again, the attitude was, I think, we batted it about, and they were going to secondary school, and we knew that the friends were going to have them.
That's
and,
it.
I mean, we tried to monitor, but I mean, again, doing the work that I do, I'm aware that, you know, kids as young as 5 and 6 are able to hack their way around net nannies. And
Are they
once
really?
oh yes, they're incredibly
I probably
smart
wouldn't be
when it
able
comes
to hack my
things.
way around that
Well, I
though.
wouldn't either, but I can tell you
Since
that
these kids
kids
can
will.
code and everything, got to kind of
Exactly,
such a granny.
yeah.
But
They're able to find their way around that, and
born
also,
into it.
and they're shared.
Yeah.
They are. This is it. They've grown up in a world where they never haven't had access to technology. Also, you got to remember, in every school class, you're going to have the computer geek
Oh,
who's
he's
going
gonna
to
do it for
share
everyone.
information.
He's like the kid that
Yeah.
got everyone the fake IDs back in my day.
Yeah.
Exactly, it's the modern equivalent of one of those. And if they've got access to the internet, they're going to find their way on. And this is where we need to start seriously educating.
So you don't think banning them or putting these locks on is going to work? You think you just have to teach them what's right and wrong?
If you're going to give them access to a device, which ultimately we're going to,
Yeah.
all you can do is try and educate and empower.
So how do you say to your porn? Like, how do you avoid your child coming across like ridiculous, horrible porn that's going to
You
skew
can't.
their view of sex?
You can't. If,
Oh,
if
that's
they're
not the answer I
online,
wanted, Jane.
if they're online, they're going to come across it 24
Yeah.
hour, freely available, in which you just have to tick a box and you're on. Now, there is some policy being developed currently in the UK. If it happens in the UK, it usually follows through to here, where you're going to be expected to have effectively an online passport, which will qualify your age. Again, they're going to find a way to hack around that. It's going to be useful to a certain extent.
Would that stop trolling? Would it, like, if you have to identify who you are online?
Theoretically, I suppose, but I mean, fake IDs are available, as we've just discussed.
there's
You're going to
just
find those
no
online
escape?
as well. There is no escape. The internet is the Wild West, and
Is that what the WW stands for?
that's, I believe, I've always believed so. The Wild Wacky West is the
Right,
WW.
okay.
Yeah, and there's very little that we can do, I think, to try and control it. What we need to do is we need to educate.
Okay.
Do you know? There's no point in pretending it's not there. Sit down, have a conversation. I think that the best gift that we can give our kids is to have them believe that every conversation that they have with us is safe and that they can ask us anything that they need to ask us. And if they come across something that disturbs them, to tell us about it so that we can talk about it.
That's really good. I like that, because they'll obviously won't tell you anything if they think
If
they
they
can't.
think they're going to get in trouble, or they think
or
that
they
you're
shouldn't
going
have been doing something and they're
Yeah.
going to get in trouble for having looked at a particular thing.
Exactly. Kids are curious.
And equally, you want them to come to your questions and not Google for answers, you know, about, if they're curious about sex or their own sexuality or gender identities or whatever it is, you want them to talk to you about it and not go online and find mad stuff that's just going to, you know, not help at all kind of thing. So,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, let's face it, guys, these days I'm wondering about something, anything at all, from the age of an actor to what this particular flower is, you Google it. That's what you do. You don't ask somebody,
You
you
ask the
Google it.
internet.
And kids are the same. So they are unfortunately going to Google it
like
first.
my 3-year-old tells me to ask Google.
Yeah.
That's mental, isn't it?
She's 3.
Ask Google. Ask Google.
Oh my God.
That's it. Google is the magic wand.
Asking Google and talking to Alexa, like, what is the world
It's
going
because
to
we
be
have
like?
like the Google Nests as well. So
Yeah.
it's like you have to say, "Hey Google," and you can be like, "What time is it? Hey
Yeah.
Google."
Yeah.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know, and
'cause
then
you
they
get-
know I also go on my phone, and they know what the Google
You
like
type in-
page looks
yes,
like, and
yeah.
I type something, so they know that I can ask it on my phone. I can
Talk
ask
to
it on the
yeah.
speaker.
So
So eventually
for-
they'll be asking Google whatever
They
it
do
is.
ask.
Yeah,
they
my
say, "Hey
two talk to
Google,
Alexa
play
as well.
Frozen."
Yeah.
So Google is almost like a member of the family at this stage.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about
So-
social media? What are we thinking for like age?
Not 12. Like
No.
I know people who like have given their kids TikTok accounts at age of like 6 and 7, and that just
It's frightening, isn't it?
It's terrifying. And you know what? We talk about the stuff we don't want them to find online, but it's the people online as well. And not just from a kind of, predator kind of sense, but just people are horrible, like they really
just,
are. Like the
imagine
vicious
if,
comments.
Imagine if
and-
your like 7-year-old put up a TikTok and then got a load of like horrible comments,
Yeah,
like
was told they're ugly
you're
or something
ugly,
about their
you're
weight.
whatever.
Yeah.
Go kill yourself.
Yes.
Is something you see a lot.
Really.
Well, if you think about it, I mean, in terms of child development, okay, children when they're in the home, when they're within the family, they're living in a world in which they are wonderful and everybody loves them. And okay, you
Yeah.
have rows and you poke the head off each other, sometimes siblings, but you get over it and everybody hugs and it's great,
Yes,
okay?
yeah.
And that's wonderful. So they grow up in a home in which they are loved unequivocally and everything's great.
Yeah.
The first time kids encounter somebody not really liking them or giving them a hard time usually is when they go to school.
Yes.
But then they've got the supportive teachers, they've got the supportive
Yeah.
friends who do
Yeah,
actually like
yeah.
them
Yeah.
and who can bolster them when they come across that. You go online and it's a cold, dark and scary place,
Yeah,
and you're
yeah.
encountering somebody being mean to you or saying horrible things,
And you don't even know who they are.
and you don't even know who they
And
are.
there's no
Exactly.
escape from it, because like when we were growing up, if we were being bullied in school, we'd come home to our safe place, which is our
Yeah.
house, our home.
Yeah.
They're being bullied in school, then they're coming home, and then they're still getting it
carrying
online.
the bullies in their
They're-
pocket.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're either getting it on TikTok or Instagram, or they're just getting text messages.
Yeah.
There's no escape. Once we had an escape because we had no phones, we had no computers, we had no instant messages. Now they do, which is scary.
And schools, colleges, workplaces
Yeah.
are struggling to deal with cyberbullying.
Yes.
It's one of the biggest social problems out there, and the fallout from it is colossal. The number of people, young people who've died by suicide, the number of young people who are self-harming, the number
Yes.
of young people who are having mental health issues as a result of that is huge.
Yeah.
And it's something that I think all of us are racking our brains as to how do we deal with
Yeah.
this. And again, it's about just trying to teach our kids to believe in themselves. It's about self-value, self-esteem.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what these people say. But of
Yes.
course that's very easy for us as adults to say,
So we have
because
thick skin now.
it becomes all encompassing.
Yes.
Exactly, and all of us are used to
And how
being out there
horrible
to a
is-
certain
yeah.
extent and having to deal with the trolls
Constantly being
and the,
called ugly or fat or whatever. We're used to it, which is a horrible thing to say, like, but I'm actually used to it, and it just goes over my head now, because I'm used to it, and I have such a thick skin over social media,
And
well, you
even
condition yourself
more.
not to read the comments.
Yeah, exactly, that too.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
too.
As Shane was saying that he's worked for the Journal. Don't read the comments.
Yeah.
Don't read the comments.
Don't read the comments. That's another thing as well. We worry about their safety and all of that, but I suppose I do worry as well that if my child has this little, persona as he's growing up, like that, maybe he would get bullied for that as well, And I've given him the most obnoxious name as well, so everyone's going to know who he is. His name is Ziggy. He can't hide, sorry,
That's
Ziggy.
kinda cool, though.
But also, the target on his head probably. So I probably have done him no favors, but.
My daughter's Marnie, and she still hasn't forgiven me for
Oh,
that.
I
And I think
love
it's
that
lovely.
name.
Very cute.
Yeah.
That was on my
Very
girls'
cute.
list.
Yeah, she has never forgiven me for it.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, I
yeah.
love it. It's beautiful. But here's another question for you guys. Should we be checking our kids' mobile phones?
I would.
I will.
I would.
I know you're going to say
100%.
no.
Oh, I'm going to say yes.
Oh, are you? Okay.
Oh,
okay.
yeah,
I'd say, yeah.
100%.
Now, I've gotten stick for that. I have gotten stick for that. I've spoken to a number of different child advocacy groups about that. I'm a big believer in spot checks.
Yes.
Your kids are told, I'm giving you the phone,
Yeah.
but for the next however many years until they're 35,
Yeah.
I will be randomly coming and I
100%.
will be looking through the
Yeah.
phone.
Yeah, so
and,
they know it's going to happen. So it's
Exactly.
not like you're springing it on them and you're like, give me your phone now.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
every now and again, I'm just going to check. So
Yeah.
you just
Exactly. It's a
Instead of
social.
lying.
It's the phone equivalent of a fire drill. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, very true. Yeah, I love that.
Oh, I do love that. Guys, I'm afraid that's all we have time for, but this has been brilliant. So thank you all so much for being so honest, and Shane, you are slightly terrified, but we appreciate your input.
I tried to be gentle.
You know, I think the thing about it is, you know, and we will have all heard this, if you're going to put yourself out there, you know, you get this, that you deserve the stick that you're getting or whatever, but the fact is that anybody with a Facebook page or an Instagram page is putting themselves out there. It's just that we're more interesting girls, more people. No, but you know what I mean, like it is, we all put ourselves out there in small ways, and you don't have to be an influencer with thousands of followers, you know, for your child to be unsafe online. So I think this applies across the board. So I think we have loads of food for thought there, things to keep in mind going forward, and as they get older and it gets even more scary.
And it's only going to get more scary.
Oh, Shane. Anyway, we better go before he scares us anymore. That's all we have time for. Guys, thank you very much for joining us. Join us next week when we'll be discussing the Irish childcare crisis.